What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some things that you might want to do before Chapter 5 Season 2 and kind of what to expect to change in the new season and things of that nature. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what you thought of Chapter 5 Season 1, what you hope to see in Chapter 5 Season 2, what you thought of the season's battle pass, the map, the loophole, anything, things of that nature down in the comments below. So the season is set to end March 8th. So that's this Friday. I'm always confused on whether or not the new season is going to be on the date they say the battle pass goes to, or if it'll be the day after. So I would expect Chapter 5 Season 2 to either start on Friday, March 8th, or Saturday, March 9th. One of those 2 days. And so first I'm going to talk about kind of what changes in a new season, because I know by, reading my comment section, there's a lot of people that watch my videos who started playing in this season. And so this is going to be your first season switch. So what will change is that the battle pass is going to expire and there will be a new battle pass. Anything you didn't get from this season's battle pass, you won't be able to get anymore. Your level will reset back to level 1. Crown wins from the crown emote go back to 0. Sometimes gold resets, sometimes it doesn't. That one's kind of weird. And then ranked mode progression also resets season to season, but where you get placed next season is impacted by where you finished this season to an extent. It's not like if you got Unreal this season, you're just going to be placed in Unreal again, but you might start out in like platinum rather than starting out in gold or bronze or silver, something like that. So if you did well in ranked this season, you'll probably start out with a slightly higher rank than you did this season. If you did not at all, it wouldn't really impact it much, I don't think. So that's kind of what changes season to season as far as like progression goes. Also, what changes is the map changes a little bit. So how much a map changes season to season really varies, but don't expect an entirely new map. I have read comments from people that seem to be under the assumption that we're getting an entire new map next season. That is not the case. It's typically a new map every chapter. And so chapters are recently have been a year long. In the past, they were 2 years long. And then season to season, there's some POIs added or changed. Like there might be a new POI that replaces Reckless Railway, for example, and some changes to other POIs, but it won't be an entirely new map. And the same is true of the loot pool. Like some items may get vaulted, and then like that means removed from the game. Some items might get unvaulted, which means they get brought back into the game. There will almost certainly be some new items added to the game or new weapons added to the game, but it's not going to be an entirely different loot pool. That would be pretty surprising. There likely will be several weapons and several items that carry over from Chapter 5 Season 1 into Chapter 5 Season 2. So I wouldn't expect an entirely new loot pool. I wouldn't expect an entirely new map. And there may or may not be new mechanics added to the game. This can really vary with next season being Greek mythology themed, like who really knows what they're going to do. But some mechanics that came in from some seasons would be like Loot Island spawning in at 4th Zone. That started happening in Chapter 4 Season 2. The radio towers where you can eliminate the boss to get forecasts for the remainder of the game. That started happening in Chapter 4 Season 4, I believe. So certain mechanics like that might get added as well. And then in the past, we've also gotten new movement mechanics in certain seasons. Not saying guaranteed we'll get things like that, but it's just like there may be new mechanics coming to the game that we don't know about right now. So that's kind of what to expect from a new season. What you might want to do before the season ends is going to be to first spend your battle stars and finish leveling your battle pass, because like I already said, once the season ends, you will no longer be able to spend any of the battle stars you have for this season, level up this season's battle pass, or unlock anything from it. So, check your battle pass tab. I think you need to be level 200 or higher to get everything out of the base pass and all the bonus styles that you can unlock from battle stars. And even if you're over level 200, if you don't spend those stars and unlock the stuff before the season ends, it's GG's. You're not going to get it. So just kind of go into the battle pass tab, check and make sure that you've gotten everything you want to get out of this pass. And if there is things that you want that you haven't been able to get, you might need to grind out some levels or maybe consider purchasing levels to get what you want out of this season's battle pass. Another thing is going to be quest rewards, because these also reset with the new season. So if there's any rewards you want from these, like loading screens for the weekly quests. I think the mosaic quests, if you complete those, unlock a loading screen and maybe a back bling. And then there also is some quest related bonus rewards in the battle pass tab as well, where you can get some edit styles for completing quests or unlock the solid snake skin and his bonus styles by doing quests. And if you don't do these quests before the season ends, then you just can't get those rewards, kind of like I touched on with the battle pass. If you miss out, you miss out, even if you were very close to kind of, finishing those rewards or unlocking those rewards, or even if you had them in the case of bonus stars, if you don't spend them, then you're not going to have the rewards that you want from this season's battle pass. So, check that out and make sure you got what you want if that's something you care about. The next things I'm going to talk about are just going to be some things that you can do to potentially help you adjust to next season easier and also enjoy the game more in the final few days. And that's going to be to try out different weapons and try out different drop spots. So I kind of said that both of these things can potentially change. The loot pool can change, slightly. It can change a decent amount. It varies from season to season. But if you've only been using very select things this season, if that changes next, then it's going to be a struggle for you. So like if you've only been using the auto shotgun this season, especially if you're newer and you never played during a pump meta, if next season is a pump shotgun meta, you're going to have to adjust to that, in real time. Whereas like if you use the pump for the final few days and kind of get used to that pump and then swapping to a spray weapon and then back to the pump playstyle, it might suck for these final few days playing against the auto shotgun like that. But if it is a pump meta next season, it's going to be easier for you to adjust, especially if you're a new player. If you're someone who's played for many seasons, this might not matter as much to you. But that can be something to consider. Same thing with mobility. If you've only been using the grapple blade and haven't really learned shockwaves, and then, the grapple blade gets vaulted next season, but shockwaves are still in the loot pool, then it's going to be harder for you to adjust to that if you never learned how to use shockwaves. And then the inverse of that is also true. If you've been using shocks and not the grapple blade, and then shocks get vaulted, but the grapple blade is still in, if you use the grapple blade now and kind of get used to it, it's going to be easier for you to adjust to the new meta, the new season. I think ARs and snipers are also an interesting one because they made ARs projectile this season, which makes them much more inconvenient to use at range. And a lot of players just haven't even been using their ARs much this season because of how good snipers are. But if snipers get vaulted next season and you're still not used to the projectile ARs, it's going to be harder for you to play that season than someone who did get used to the projectile ARs and didn't rely entirely on snipers this season. So maybe consider playing without a sniper for a bit in these final few days. And then gimmick items, I also think you might want to consider not relying on as much. Like if you've only been playing with the riot shield and the riot shield gets vaulted next season, it's going to be rough for you. And then everything I just said is also true of drop spots. If you've only been landing at one location this season the entire time, like let's take Reckless Railway, it was the one I used as an example earlier. If you've only been landing Reckless Railway and that's been the only POI that you've learned this chapter, and then it gets vaulted next season or it gets replaced by a different POI, it's probably going to be not only harder for you to adjust to the new season because you don't have any other spots that you've kind of grown to like on the map, but also it's going to be more frustrating because the one location that you enjoyed is gone. Whereas like if you've learned several POIs on the map, less likely all of them change, and so there still will be some locations that you enjoyed landing at, and it'll be easier for you to play the new season and just kind of more enjoyable. This happened to me in chapter 1 season 7. They got rid of Greasy Grove and I was very irritated by that because it was one of my favorite POIs, and then because of that I didn't even really try those new locations or really give them a chance because I was just so irritated they removed Greasy Grove. So kind of try to keep an open mind about drop spots, and if you are very limited on where you enjoy landing, then maybe consider trying to land at a few different spots for the final few days. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about is going to be settings. I made a video on this yesterday kind of talking about settings and how to find your ideal settings and kind of some tips for getting used to it, but that is also a good thing to potentially do in these final few days if you are someone who feels like your keybinds aren't very good or your sensitivity isn't the greatest, like you're not as used to it or not as comfortable with it as you would like to be, and you just haven't really bothered to change it because you didn't really feel like kind of having that period of time where you suck for a few days. Now would be a good time to do it because, the season's about to end anyways. Like I said, your crown wins will reset. It's not that big of a deal if you have a few days on the game that don't go your way because you're trying to get used to new keybinds or new sensitivity, and that will help you, perform better in the new season if you are able to get used to it in time. It is kind of rough because if you change it too late, then maybe you're still trying to adjust to it next season. Creative can be a great way to kind of get used to these new settings because you can just get into a lot of fights in a much shorter time span with less downtime between fights. This can also be a great way for you to try those different weapons and different playstyles I was talking about before, because again, you can get in fights much faster and you don't have to worry about losing a fight and then having to reloot all game. Creative can also be great for XP. If you need levels out of your battle pass, any map where you can get eliminations, you tend to get a good amount of XP per elimination in creative maps. And like I've said several times within the past minute, there's less downtime between fights and no penalty for losing a fight. So creative is a great kind of spot for a lot of this stuff. And if you are someone who is more burnt out on the game but still wants to kind of play and get used to some new weapons, get some levels, maybe change your settings a bit, creative can be great for that. Don't feel like you have to change your settings though. If you're fine with how you feel about them, that's great. But I was saying mainly there's times where people know they want to change certain things with their sensitivity or their keybinds, and they just put it off and keep putting it off and keep putting it off. At the end of a season like this is a great time to kind of, get adjusted to that, maybe play more creative, because if you are someone who's been grinding this season the entire time, you're probably pretty burnt out on it by now. But that is going to be it for this video. Hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. As always, if you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, comment down below kind of anything you thought about Chapter 5 Season 1, what you liked, what you didn't like, the Battle Pass, the story, the mini event build up, or kind of what you hope to see in Season 2. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.